Hello everyone, welcome back to Whispers of Turkish Stars. If you love emotional deep dives into the lives of your favorite Turkish celebrities, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the community to support the channel. Today we're sharing a story that has quietly lived behind closed doors, yet echoes in the hearts of millions. It's about a tender confession, a love that almost made it to the altar, and the silence that lingered long after the spotlight moved on. It's Hazal Subaşı's quiet ache, and the unspoken love she carried for Erkan Meriç. For years, Hazal chose silence. She let the cameras see only what she allowed, kept her smile steady and her voice bright, and guarded her inner world like a sanctuary where memories could breathe without being questioned. That stillness was her shield. It protected the pieces of her story that were too fragile to handle the weight of public curiosity. But recently, in a soft-spoken interview, she lowered that shield a fraction. Her voice trembled, her words careful at first, then truthful and bare. And she said something that shook people more than any headline could: "The only person I wanted to marry was him. If he hadn't left, we would still be together." With that, the outline of a love story half-lived took shape. It wasn't dramatic in the way gossip often is. There were no grand scandals or accusations. There was a dream that had been sketched carefully, then left unfinished. There was a plan for a life, interrupted too soon. There was the woman behind the roles and photoshoots, still touched by what had happened, still a little softened at the edges every time his name passed her thoughts. For months, Hazal avoided speaking about Erkan. She didn't deny the past, but she didn't feed it either. She kept conversations poised and light, masked the ache behind her serene smile, and carried on as though the past were simply that, past. Yet the truth, which had been resting just beneath the surface, eventually found its way out. Friends who stood by her side during those difficult months shared that what she endured wasn't loud or reckless. It was a quiet grief, the kind that sinks into the bones and lingers. She didn't lash out. She didn't create drama. She simply hurt, and kept living. There was no scandal to dissect, no betrayal that tabloids could sensationalize. But there was a wedding that almost happened. One of her closest friends confided that everything was ready. The dress, carefully chosen and altered to perfection. The venue, near the water, where the breeze could carry a soft song across the shore. The playlist included a particular melody she wanted for their first dance: intimate, warm, uncomplicated. A moment she wanted to freeze in time. And then, he was gone. Along with him went a part of the future she had been holding. Not a dramatic exit. No last-minute explanation written on the back of a napkin. Just absence, sudden and bewildering. When Hazal spoke of those days in her interview, she did so with the kind of maturity that comes from surviving a private storm. There was sadness, yes. There was acceptance, too. She described the ceremony she pictured. A simple seaside promise at sunset, a smile she hoped would light up his face when he looked at her. She described the moment he disappeared without warning. One day there were plans, the next, there was silence. He didn't say goodbye, she recalled. He just left. And with him, he took the promise of the life we had begun to build. The words reminded the world that fame doesn't make hearts unbreakable. That behind the red carpets and rehearsals, there are people who still get blindsided by love and loss. Months later, when everything had been dismantled and carefully packed away, dress in a garment bag, invitations tucked into a drawer, dreams folded into the quiet, Erkan made a public move. He reached out where everyone could see. It wasn't subtle. There was a proposal, there were witnesses, and there was a beat of silence that felt like eternity. In the interview, Hazal admitted she was torn. Part of her wanted to run into that moment, to wrap it up and claim it. Another part wanted to say it plainly: it was too late. She stayed honest, not for shock, but because honesty was all that was left. She turned her private heartbreak into something universal, the story of love arriving at the wrong hour. The kind of love that's intense, enduring, and endlessly complicated. I don't blame him, she continued. Maybe he did what he believed was right at the time. Maybe he needed to go find his answers alone. But I think I've earned the right to say this: if he hadn't walked away, I would still be with him. Even when I tried to deny it, he was the only person I wanted to marry. Those words didn't accuse. They acknowledged. They respected what had been, while honoring what had been lost. The internet exploded the moment the interview dropped. Social media flooded with threads, voice notes, stitched videos, and long captions from fans who felt seen by her confession. People wrote that her words belonged to anyone who loved someone who chose to leave without looking back. Messages arrived from all over the world, not just from longtime followers of their story, but from anyone who had ever sat quietly with a broken heart and pretended it didn't ache. And something else happened too. Audiences began to watch her performances differently. In her recent roles, people found new layers of pain that looked lived in, gentleness that felt earned. The camera caught a depth in her gaze that wasn't technique alone, it was life. Despite the heartbreak, Hazal left a single window open in her words. "Real love doesn't disappear," she said softly. "It just learns how to wait." But then she added something that drew a quiet line: she wasn't certain she wanted it to return. Not like that. Not without proof that something had changed. Her mind and her memories lived in two different rooms, each calling her in a different direction. Dignity pulled one way, longing pulled another. Meanwhile, Erkan kept his public silence. No statements. No counter-narrative. But those close to the situation say he has been careful in how he reaches out, understanding at last that apologies are not sentences but actions, and that words, however eloquent, mean little without the courage to follow through. Their story has become larger than two famous names. It's now a lesson on time, on vulnerability, on what it costs to stay quiet too long. Even the strongest love can become delicate when left in the shadows. There's almost nothing more heartbreaking than being finally, fully ready to love, only to realize the person you wanted has already chosen to leave. That was the line that closed her interview, but not the story. The story continues in the space between them, between what used to be and what might still be, between pain that taught them how to breathe slower, and futures that refused to reveal themselves too soon. Behind the scenes, the picture is blurred but not empty. There are moments of thoughtful distance. She's rebuilding in ways that are measured and real: friends, work, morning walks that reset the day. She's laughing again without forcing it, letting herself be a person before being a headline. He, too, is re-evaluating. The rhythm of his life has shifted, people say. He's learned how to listen where he used to rush, learned how to ask questions instead of assume answers. But everyone knows this isn't the kind of rupture that mends with a bouquet and a promise. If there is a road back, it is long, and it will be paved with patience. And yet, that dream she described remains hauntingly specific: by the sea, at dusk, the sky warming into gold. No grand spectacle, no orchestra. Just a melody that means something private, a circle of faces who truly know them, and a pair of vows spoken with steady sincerity. You can almost see it. You can almost hear the gentle clap of waves against the shore as they turn to each other and choose the life that didn't happen the first time. But life is not a fairy tale that bows to our timing. Sometimes the most beautiful scenes arrive early or late, and sometimes they only ever exist in the imagination, stubborn and luminous. In the meantime, the world keeps watching them, kindly, this time. Fans cheer for their happiness, whether together or apart. They celebrate her growth, his restraint, and the possibility that the lessons learned might one day become a bridge instead of a wall. They praise the bravery it took to say aloud what most would keep buried. And they notice the way her work has deepened, how every pause feels meaningful, how every glance on screen carries an echo of the woman who stood in front of a camera and told the truth. If there's a message wrapped inside all this, it's simple and difficult all at once. Love is fragile, even when it's powerful. Timing matters, even when desire insists otherwise. Silence can be a comfort, but it can also be a thief. And the only way forward, the only way that brings sleep at night, is to align actions with words. Should the day come when he offers not just an apology but a history of kept promises, and should she choose to open that door, perhaps the story will find its way to an ending that feels like a beginning. If not, then her courage will still stand on its own, and his quiet will have taught him what noise never could. What do you think? Do Hazal, Subaşı and Erkan Meriç have a real chance at starting over with gentler hearts, or are some wounds too deep to risk reopening? Share your thoughts in the comments, tell us which Turkish stars you want us to cover next, and if this kind of heartfelt storytelling speaks to you, tap like, subscribe, and join the community. Thank you for watching Whispers of Turkish Stars. We'll see you in the next video, where the stories are tender, the truths are brave, and the endings, well, those belong to time.